Buenas and Hafide Todos Hamdu. This hearing by the Committee on Innovation, Economic, Workforce, and Youth Development is now called to order. The time is now 9:07 a.m. For the record, and in accordance with 5 GCA Chapter 8, subsection 8107, public hearing notices were sent on Monday, August 14th, adhering to the 5 days notice, and a second public notice on Thursday, August 18th, 2017, 48 hours prior to today. In addition, this hearing was noticed on the Legislature's website, www.guamlegislature.com. Written testimonies may be submitted by emailing Senator Bisco Lee at guamlegislature.org, or you may hand deliver to our office at 163 Chalan Santa Papa, Hagatnya. Joining me here this morning are, to my left, Vice Speaker Therese Terlahi, to her left, Senator Will Castro, and to my right, Senator Tommy Morrison. I'd like to thank my colleagues for joining me. First on the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, will be a confirmation hearing of the appointment of Mr. Carl V. Dominguez to serve as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. And at this time, I'd like to call the first panel of individuals who sign up to testify. Please come forward and be seated when your name is called. Mr. Manny Cruz from BSP. Ms. Lola Leon Guerrero, also from BSP. And we'll have the nominee, Mr. Dominguez, please join them. Thank you all for joining us. I'd also like to call up Mr. Paul Mendiola. If Paul is here, please join us. Thank you very much. Mr. Cruz, if you'd like to begin.
Hafidai and good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Manuel Q. Cruz, better known as Manny. I am currently the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, BSP. I come before your committee to testify in support of the nomination of Mr. Carl V. Dominguez as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I have known Mr. Dominguez for many years and worked together as members of the Archdiocesan Catholic School Board at one time in the 1980s. At that time, we were responsible for developing policies and procedures for use in the Catholic schools. Mr. Dominguez comes to the Bureau of Statistics and Plans with a knowledge and experience in public works operations, power distribution engineering, airline facilities maintenance, real estate sales and development, and copying machine marketing. With such a diverse background, Mr. Dominguez can feel right at home in meeting and defining the mission of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans to ensure that the island's resources are effectively used for the benefit of present and future generations by ensuring consistency among various plans, policies, and programs. With just 7 weeks on the job, Mr. Dominguez has already shown his leadership in guiding the Bureau in the right direction. I respectfully urge you and the other committee members to support Mr. Dominguez's confirmation as Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cruz. Ms. Leon Guerrero.
Hafide and good morning, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Lola E. Leon Guerrero. I am currently the Chief Planner of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, the Bureau. I come before you to testify in support of the confirmation of Mr. Carl V. Dominguez as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. As the Chief Planner for the Bureau of Statistics that oversees the Bureau's Planning Information Program, Socioeconomic Planning Program, and the Guam Coastal Management Program, I believe Mr. Dominguez is a good choice to serve as the director for the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I've worked at the Bureau for over 26 years and under the directorship of many appointees to the Bureau, that I can say with confidence that I have a lot of trust in Mr. Dominguez. He has a formal background and has held several leadership positions in the government of Guam, such as serving as Deputy Director and Director of the Department of Public Works. I believe in his sincerity, his enthusiasm, and his solid character to serve as the Bureau's Director. In the short time I have worked under Mr. Dominguez's leadership, I find he possesses important qualities of an effective leader. He listens and he learns and he draws upon the knowledge and experiences of the Bureau's employees. When he started at the Bureau, he reviewed the Bureau's enabling legislation, the Bureau's mission, the documents the Bureau has produced, and the work the Bureau is tasked with, to name a few. Of importance is that Mr. Dominguez demonstrates trust in the professionalism of the staff. Since he has been with the Bureau, Mr. Dominguez has developed a positive rapport and a respectful working relationship with the Bureau's employees, and he will continue to guide and provide the leadership to the Bureau in its ongoing efforts to ensure Guam's resources are effectively used for the benefits of our present and future generation by ensuring consistencies among various plans, policies, and programs. It is with great pleasure that I ask the committee to support Mr. Carl V. Dominguez's confirmation as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Sizos Maasi.
Sizos Maasi, thank you very much, Ms. Leangaro. And Mr. Mendiola? Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you so much for allowing me to address this body. My name is Paul Mendiola, and I just so happen to be Carl's only son-in-law. You guys know Carl on a professional level. He's a great guy, and I just want you folks to know that this is a gentleman that has his heart put into everything that he sets out to do. I highly support his endeavors, and I really appreciate the fact that he's willing to serve again. For the last 2 years or a year or so, he was our babysitter, and we are losing him to you guys. And it's sad for us, but great for the government, of course. Just want to let you guys know that what you see here is what you get. This gentleman has no agendas. He puts his heart and hard work into all things that he does. And I really hope you guys confirm him today without reservations, because I do. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to address this body. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mendiola. And I also just want to recognize some of the other members of the public that have joined us today, all in support of Mr. Dominguez. And before we give the floor to the nominee, I just want to again thank his family and also thank the governor for nominating Mr. Dominguez. As many of the folks on the panel have mentioned, he comes to us with a wide variety in his background. He has a lot of different skill sets that he brings to the table, and I've had the pleasure to meet with Mr. Dominguez prior to this hearing. I was able to get all of my questions asked and answered in a timely fashion, so I look forward to giving my colleagues the opportunity to do the same. And I would like at this time to invite Mr. Dominguez to give his testimony. Sizos Maasi.
Hafide and good morning, Madam Chairperson Lee and members of the Committee on Innovation and Economic Workforce and Youth Development, which has legislative oversight of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, which I will refer to as the Bureau going forward. My name is Carl Dominguez. On July 3rd this year, Governor Eddie Calvo appointed me the Acting Director of the Bureau. I now appear before you to humbly ask that you recommend my confirmation as Director of the Bureau to the full Legislature. I'm confident my education and work experience has prepared me to lead the Bureau to accomplish its mandates, goals, and objectives. In 1973, I graduated from Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering, and shortly thereafter returned to Guam to work in the engineering division of the Guam Power Authority. In 1975, I left GPA to work in the private sector for the next 35 consecutive years in sales and airline facilities management, as listed in my resume. In January 2011, Governor Eddie Calvo appointed me the Deputy Director of the Department of Public Works, whose director at that time was former Senator Joanne Brown. In December 2012, Director Brown transferred to the Port Authority of Guam as its new General Manager, and Governor Calvo subsequently appointed me as the Acting Director of DPW. In February 2013, the 32nd Guam Legislature confirmed my appointment as Director. It was during my 14 years with Continental Micronesia Airlines and the 4 years as the Deputy Director and the Director of Department of Public Works, my most recent employments, that I gained most of my experience with statistics and plans. As the facilities manager at Continental, I was required to forecast the capital requirements of the airline's facilities for 5 years in advance. In order to accomplish this, I would have to gather and maintain good records of the company's facilities assets and construction maintenance costs, and estimate cost escalations to arrive at as accurate a forecast as possible for the company. To accomplish this, it was also very important for me to know what the company's plans were for the future, and this information was provided to me by the company's senior management. During my time at the Department of Public Works, I was very involved in the implementation of the 2030 Guam Transportation Plan, working with the DPW Highways Division and the Federal Highway Administration, the grantor which funds the GTP, the Guam Transportation Plan. The 2030 Guam Transportation Plan is the master plan for Guam's land transportation system. It is a comprehensive, holistic, and integrated long-term strategy to improve the transportation infrastructure and operations throughout Guam. It is based on research, data gathering, analysis, and forecasting of population, employment, and traffic growth, and includes impacts associated with the planned Department of Defense buildup in Guam. Although long-term, the 2030 Guam Transportation Plan does incorporate short-term planning of highway construction in 4-year increments based on the most current data available to the DPW. In this regard, I was able to see computer models of traffic patterns and flows based on traffic counts collected by specialized vehicle counting equipment placed at various road locations around the island. It was this data collection, that is, traffic statistics, that was and continues to be used in large part by the DPW to develop and implement its highway plans for Guam. It was also at DPW that I was exposed to many millions of dollars in federal grants. DPW's Highway Division is a recipient of the bulk of the grants, primarily from the Federal Highway Administration, and DPW's Office of Highway Safety is a recipient of grants from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The DPW was also a direct recipient of grants from the Department of Interior for the purchase of school buses, vehicles, and heavy equipment. My experience with the federal grants in relation to leading the Bureau will become evident later in my testimony. The mission statement of the Bureau is to ensure resources are effectively used for the benefit of present and future generations by appraising, coordinating, preparing, and assisting in the development of a wide range of plans, policies, studies, and statistics that further economic, social, land use, environmental, and infrastructural goals, priorities, and planning activities. This is a long mission statement, but is indicative of the importance of this department of only 33 employees. My Bureau co-workers support 5 divisions, namely Administration, the Business and Economic Statistics Program, the Socio-Economic Planning Program, the Planning Information Program, and the Guam Coastal Management Program. Among its various divisions, the Bureau executes numerous mandates and programs, including publishing the Consumer Price Index, import and export trade data reports, publishing the annual statistical yearbook and the Guam Facts and Figures at a Glance brochure, and other statistical indices for policymakers, researchers, and businesses to make sound decisions to improve Guam's economic viability and resource sustainability. Also, providing technical support to GovGuam entities when needed in order that they meet their missions. Collaborating with U.S. Census Bureau officials and stakeholders on Guam and the planning of the 2020 census. Securing federal dollars from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the Department of Interior to compile commercial fishery data, coral reef, coastal, and environmental conservation initiatives. Preparing the annual compact impact report to identify and assess the costs incurred for services to the freely associated migrants on Guam. Planning the 2018 enumeration of the FAS migrants on Guam in collaboration with the Office of Insular Affairs, Department of Interior. Providing technical support to GIDA on the development of the new Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. Providing technical assistance to the Department of Agriculture to update the 2017 Marine Conservation Plan. Developing and coordinating Guam's FY 2017 to 2020 Drug Control, Violent Crime, and Criminal Justice Systems Improvement Grant Program. Let me take a breath here. Thank you. Developing and serving as the catalyst for planned and balanced growth through intergovernmental reviews via the Guam State Clearinghouse, legislative review of bills, and the mandate review process via the Comprehensive Development Plans. Continuing Application Review Committee, called the ARC, Guam Land Use Committee, GLUC, and Federal Consistency Reviews, and the Geographic Information System mapping to ensure sustainable and well-planned development efforts are central to protecting Guam's natural resources. Coordinating the 23rd Guam International Coastal Cleanup scheduled for Saturday, September 16, 2017, and publication of the Man, Land, and Sea newsletters. Conducting education and environmental awareness with schools and community outreach programs such as the Guardians of the Reef, Eyes of the Reef, on the Reef, the Pig Hunting Derby, and Pork in the Park Cook-Off to promote best management practices in protecting Guam's coastal environment and to balance sustainable uses of resources. One of the significant challenges for me as director of the Bureau will be the implementation of the 50-year strategic vision of Guam, namely Guam 2065, as mandated by Governor Calvo's Executive Order 2016-02, which created the Guam 2065 Commission to implement the planning phase in order to create the comprehensive Guam Master Plan. In EO 2016-2, the Bureau is designated the Secretariat for the 2060-50 Commission. The Bureau's Director serves as the Chairman of the 2065 Commission, and the Administrator of the Bureau's Guam Coastal Management Program Division serves as the Executive Director of the Secretariat. Other members of the Commission are chairpersons appointed by the Governor to lead the 8 component plans of the Commission, which are the Guam Master Plan, the Guam Capital Improvements Plan, the Government of Guam Modernization Plan, the Guam Workforce Rehabilitation Plan, the Guam Career Paths Plan, the Guam Social Stabilization Plan, the Guam Tax Code Plan, and the Guam Education Blueprint Plan. To date, chairpersons for each of the 8 component plans have been nominated, and the Guam 2065 objectives and the comprehensive planning process have been developed. Going forward, my management and staff and I will explore procuring a consultant to conduct an assessment and inventory with government agencies, the private sector, non-government organizations, and the community at large to evaluate existing plans and studies relative to the 8 component plans. Provide support to the chairpersons, conduct the public outreach campaign at the village level, facilitate and guide the comprehensive planning process in the development of the 8 planning components. As the Guam 2065 process moves along, the Bureau will provide informative updates and allow the public to submit comments and recommendations on our website. I look forward to making Guam 2065 a complete success. The Bureau has a general fund budget of approximately $1.25 million, and most of it is for personnel costs, covering just over half its personnel. The salaries and benefits of the remaining Bureau personnel are covered by federal grants. A small amount in the Bureau's budget helps support the operation of the Guam Development Disabilities Council by funding its office space, utilities, and telephone service. Moreover, the Bureau assists the GDDC with administrative and fiscal support. At any given time, the Bureau manages almost $8 million of federal grants, and it is a state administrating agency of the U.S. Department of Justice, passing on their grants to subgrantees, including the Guam Behavioral Wellness and Health Center, the Attorney General, Guam Customs and Quarantine, Department of Corrections, the Superior Court, and the Guam Police Department. These grants fund such law enforcement programs as the Rape Crisis Center at Guam Behavioral, the Drug Task Forces with Drug Enforcement Agency, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, and the Guam Customs Drug Detection Dogs Unit. Other programs included in the $8 million figure administered by the Bureau provide funding to protect our natural resources, such as the Federal Consistency Reviews, Coral Reef and Conservation Protection, in collaboration with Guam EPA, the Department of Agriculture, and the University of Guam, just to name a few. Having been its acting director for only a few weeks, I have the very good fortune of being orientated, advised, and supported by my dedicated, talented, and professional Bureau coworkers. I have been impressed with the reports and documentation that have been coming to me for my review and signature, and I enjoy the camaraderie that has come about in the short time I've been at the Bureau. I'm eager to lead the Bureau as their confirmed director and trust that my coworkers want to as well. I want to take this opportunity to thank Governor Calvo for his confidence in me to lead the Bureau. I also want to thank my wife, Catherine, back here, my children, Tara, Carl, and Dwayne, their spouses, and my extended family for their encouragement and support. To my administration colleagues, thank you for the many warm welcome back greetings extended to me. And to my friends who are here this morning, many thanks for your friendship and support. And to you, Madam Chairperson and Senators of the 34th Guam Legislature, thank you again for this opportunity to appear before you. I'm ready to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Sincerely, me.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Dominguez, and I apologize, it was an oversight on my part. I received a letter from Attorney Daniel Swavely, and I'd like to take the opportunity to read that now. It's in support of Carl Dominguez as the Director of Bureau of Statistics and Plans. Hafaday Chairperson Lee, I join others in supporting the confirmation of Mr. Carl Dominguez as the Director of the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I first worked with Carl while he was Director of Public Works, where he worked tirelessly to fill multiple public mandates with inadequate resources. His positive attitude and teamwork spirit were vital to the department's record of providing many public services throughout the island. Similarly, I think Carl will bring strong leadership skills to the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I'm familiar with the Bureau's work, having been one of the architects of Public Law 12-200, its enabling legislation, as well as its first Chief of Planning for Land Use Development. The Bureau has a very large mission, and Carl will deliver on that. I strongly urge his confirmation. Sincerely, Daniel D. Swavely. And this was submitted to the committee for its consideration. At this time, I'd like to ask a few questions of you, Mr. Dominguez, and provide the opportunity for my colleagues to ask questions of you and the panel. So, as I mentioned earlier, we did have an opportunity to meet in my office prior to this hearing, and I want to thank you for giving me that opportunity and for coming very prepared and for answering all of my questions. As we had discussed, there have been many plans developed over the years, and you mentioned that in your testimony. And part of the responsibility of the Bureau is to appraise these plans and ensure consistency with other plans in the government. I wanted to ask you, and you kind of alluded to this again in your testimony, is there a strategy in place to compile and review all of the plans on Guam or update Guam's comprehensive development plan?
Yes, Senator. There have been a number of laws passed over the many years. The Bureau of Statistics and Plans. It started out as a planning council and then became the Bureau of Planning, and then it evolved into the eventually evolved into the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. And when you go through all the laws that the enabling legislation and subsequent laws, you'll find that the Bureau of Statistics Plans is, in fact, the repository of all the master plans and strategic plans for the different agencies of the government of Guam. Now, as of this morning, I don't know the mechanics of how that's done because I'm still learning it, but I can assure you that there's procedures in place to do that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. A wise person once said that failure to plan is a plan to fail. Do you think that BSP should have a greater role to ensure all bills adhere to any comprehensive development plan for Guam?
Conceptually, that you would think that all bills ought to be reviewed by the Bureau of Statistics and Plans. I'm not sure that's being done today. It's one of these issues where I would say to you that myself and my staff would probably want to sit down with you and your staff to go over what we actually do and strategize how we might accomplish this. I'm open to it, but you know there might be some consequences that we might find during our discussions, one of them being, would we need additional resources at the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, and you know, what might that cost? And so my answer to you this morning is it's something that I would encourage us to get together on and discuss further. Yeah.
Thank you. Speaking of additional resources, on page 3 of your testimony, you mentioned that your staff and management, or your management staff and yourself, will explore procuring a consultant. Given the fact that we're currently in budget session right now, would this be a consultant for which of the fiscal years, and how do you plan to kind of implement that into your budget?
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't had an extensive discussion with my staff on this. This is just on the horizon. I wanted to get confirmed first, and then you know, tackle it head on. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Mr. Dominguez, you currently serve on the board for GURA. Do you think you'll be able to serve effectively in your capacity as as director of BSP and as a board member of GURA?
Yes, I'm confident. Time-wise, I don't think it'll be an issue. I really feel it won't be an issue. On the conflict of interest side, if I feel that there would be a conflict of interest, say some situation where GURA's policies or directives or grant application or whatever came across my desk, and I felt that it might possibly be a conflict of interest, I would recuse myself and pass it on to the deputy director. Okay. I want to take this opportunity to tell you that my observation of this situation of you know, being on a board of directors or commissioners is something really that needs to be encouraged publicly. My perception is that it's difficult for the administration, oftentimes difficult for the administration to recruit directors of boards at the government of Guam. Lately there have been some bad press about that, but I want to take this opportunity to encourage the public to volunteer their time and effort to be on boards of government agencies, because they're really needed.
Excuse me.
So,
I apologize. I believe we might have to evacuate the building. Thank you. We can continue the confirmation hearing as soon as this is clear.